All right, welcome back to the deep dive. For decades, the IDE, the Integrated Development Environment, has been the absolute center of a developer's world. You lived in your editor.
It was everything.
But Google DeepMind just dropped something that basically says that whole model is broken. It's called anti-gravity.
Yeah, let's dive into anti-gravity, and that's spelled antigravity. It was announced right on the heels of Gemini 3 Pro, and this is a pretty big deal.
It feels like more than just a new tool.
It is, because this is the first real IDE product to come directly from a foundational lab like DeepMind. This is them basically saying, hey, we have a full-stack product philosophy now.
And that philosophy is pretty revolutionary. They call it unapologetically agent first. The whole idea is to pull the agent out of the code editor.
Right, and let it operate across all the different surfaces a developer actually uses the code, sure, but also the browser, your docs, everything.
So that's our mission for today. We're going to unpack this whole paradigm shift for you. We'll look at the three main surfaces of the platform first.
And then we'll get into the step function changes in the model in Gemini 3 that even made this possible. And finally, the big one, artifacts. This new way of interacting is, it's the key to the whole thing.
Okay, let's start with that structure. Because it's not just one tool, right? It's three distinct surfaces that are all working together. Walk us through that.
So you've got the AI editor, the agent-controlled browser, and then the star of the show, the agent manager. And the manager is really designed to be your main agent-first view.
So the whole point is to get you to spend less time in the code.
Exactly. As the agent gets better and better at just doing the work, the platform gently pushes you to spend more time in the manager, just, looking at the progress from a higher level.
I love that. The idea of pulling the developer up a level, so you're more like a conductor than a violinist in the orchestra.
That's a great way to put it. You're not focused on every single line-by-line diff. The agent manager is there to handle all that complexity, especially with all the automation happening in the background.
And it manages all the multi-threading of these tasks.
Yeah, since these agents are running these long, complex jobs, the manager coordinates it all. It also has this great feature, an inbox, that bubbles up anything that absolutely needs a human to look at.
Like what?
Well, say the agent needs to run a risky terminal command. It won't just do it. It stops, sends you an OS-level notification, and waits for your explicit sign-off in the inbox. It makes sure you don't miss a critical decision.
That abstraction is powerful for productivity, for sure. But is there a risk you lose your intuition as a developer? If I'm not living in the code for 10 hours a day, do I still have that gut feeling for debugging?
That's the trade-off, and they know it. The agent manager is for managing, but the AI editor is still there for refining. It's the familiar part. It's a fork of VS Code, has all the bells and whistles, lightning-fast autocomplete.
Okay.
And it has an agent sidebar that mirrors what's happening in the manager, so you're never completely disconnected. It's where you go for that last 20%, the deep synchronous editing.
And you can get there fast. They mentioned the escape hatch command E or control E to jump between them instantly.
It has to be instant. And they said under 100 milliseconds. Any friction there and the whole abstraction falls apart.
Right.
But this is where the real magic comes in. The third surface, the agent-controlled browser, this is, and I'm not exaggerating, really, really cool.
An agent with its own Chrome browser. That sounds powerful, but also like a huge security risk.
Yeah.
How do they handle context leakage and all that?
That's the tension they had to solve first. The agent's browser is powerful, but it's also governed. The power comes from two things. First, context retrieval. It uses your authentication, so the agent can access your company's private Google Docs, your GitHub dashboards, your internal wikis, all that institutional knowledge.
Whoa. So it's not just guessing based on public data. It's reading my team's internal API docs that the model's never seen before.
Exactly. And second, control. The agent can actually use the browser click button, scroll, fill out forms, run JavaScript, and test the app it just built.
And the security part.
The human confirmation loops in the agent manager are key. It keeps the agent's actions strictly within the boundaries of the task you gave it. It's a balance, but it's designed to mitigate those risks.
That's a game changer. It can do the manual QA work that a developer has to do.
And it provides proof. Instead of just giving you a code diff and saying, I think this works, it shows you a screen recording from Chrome. You see a little blue circle moving around, that's the agent's mouse, and you see it successfully complete the task. It's ironclad verification.
Okay, controlling a browser like that has to require a massive leap in model intelligence. This brings us to the engine under the hood, Gemini 3.
Absolutely. They were very clear that you only get these big product shifts when there's a step function change in the model's capabilities. You go from autocomplete to chat, now to agents.
And the DeepMind team had a huge head start here, right?
Yeah, a massive one. They were embedded with the research teams, so they had access to Gemini 3 for months before anyone else. This let them co-evolve the product and the model. They could find the model's strengths, but more importantly, find the gaps that needed to be fixed before they could build a product like this.
And they boiled it down to 4 big improvements in Gemini 3.
Right. The first one is just raw intelligence and reasoning. Gemini 3 is just, well, smarter. It's better at following complex instructions and using tools, which is non-negotiable when you're trying to navigate the messy, unpredictable world of a web browser.
It's like it went from being a really smart intern to a competent junior developer.
That's a perfect analogy. The second one is longer running tasks. Older models would just kind of lose the thread on a task that took more than a few hours.
They get lost.
Exactly. But because Gemini 3 can think for longer, the platform can run these really complicated multi-step processes in the background without getting derailed. It's what makes the whole agent manager concept possible.
So more complex, hands-off automation. What about multimodality? They said that was off the charts.
It really is. I mean, think about it. Software development is already multimodal. You've got code, which is text, but you're also dealing with websites, diagrams, visual mockups.
Right.
Gemini 3's ability to work with images and text seamlessly is key, and they talked about how it integrates with other specialized models like Nano Banana.
Okay, you have to explain Nano Banana.
Right, so Nano Banana is one of DeepMind's super optimized specialized models just for generating images. It's really fast and high quality.
So Gemini 3 does the thinking.
Gemini 3 does the reasoning and planning, and when it needs a visual asset like a UI mockup or an architecture diagram, it hands that specific job off to a specialist like Nano Banana. It's efficient. It's how they raise the ceiling of what the agent can do.
And that raising the ceiling is the next big idea. If just generating code is becoming a solved problem, what's the new frontier for an agent like this?
They break it down into 3 phases. There's the what to build, which is still human imagination. Then there's the build it, which is the code generation. And then there's the how to build it.
The context.
The institutional knowledge, exactly. Since the agent can now handle the build it part pretty well, anti-gravity is all about solving the how and then verifying the result.
And the browser is the key to that how.
It's everything. It accesses the company's bug trackers, internal style guides, past experiments, all the context needed to build the right thing for that specific company.
And then it uses that same browser to prove it worked.
Right. The output isn't a diff anymore. It's a screen recording of the flight tracker demo working perfectly. That visual proof just completely changes the trust equation between the human and the agent.
It also opens up new ways to give feedback. Right?
Yeah.
The multimodal part.
Totally. Because the models are now fluent in image space, you can interact with the agent visually. They showed this amazing demo where you ask for a mockup.
And generates an image.
It generates an image via Nano Banana Pro, and then you can treat that image like a Figma file. You can literally draw a box around a button on the mockup and leave a comment.
Like right on the image itself.
Exactly. You just highlight it and type, change this to our dark mode glue.
Yeah.
The agent understands that visual comment, incorporates it into its plan, and generates the next version. No more clunky text prompts to describe visual changes.
Okay, this level of complexity long tasks, multimodal feedback, 3 different surfaces, it feels like you need a whole new language to communicate with the agent, and that's where artifacts come in.
This is the absolute core of the whole thing. It was born out of necessity. An artifact is their term for a dynamic representation of information the agent generates for you. The key word there is dynamic.
So it's not just a log file. It's a living, breathing summary.
Precisely. It solves what they call the a lot of strings problem. Instead of you having to read through pages of the agent's internal monologue, an artifact synthesizes all of that into a clean visual summary right in the agent manager's sidebar. It's how the agent tells you what it's doing and what it needs.
And the agent decides when to create one.
Yeah, a simple task like changing a title might not need one, but a big feature request will. And then it decides what type of artifact to generate. The whole system is designed to be scalable.
What are some of the common types?
The most important one is probably the implementation plan. Think of it like a machine-generated project plan. It outlines the steps it's going to take.
And what makes that dynamic?
The feedback section. The plan will list out any open questions it has for you. Like, hey, I need you to answer these 3 technical questions before I can move on.
See.
And here's the cool part. If the agent generates a plan and it has no open questions, it can just decide to auto-continue. It doesn't have to wait for you. That cuts down on so much dead time.
That's a huge speed up. And for the final proof?
That's another artifact called a walkthrough. It's basically like a perfect PR description. It summarizes the work, the changes, and shows the verification steps, like the screen recordings. And you can have others, like task lists, architecture diagrams, images. It's extendable.
You also mentioned they have a memory function. That sounds really interesting for managing knowledge over time.
Yeah, this is where it gets really powerful long term. Artifacts can be saved to a knowledge base. So, for example, the agent might run a bunch of curl requests against a new API to figure out its exact schema.
A pretty tedious task.
Very. But instead of just throwing that work away, it saves the final report as a permanent artifact. Now that knowledge is in your team's knowledge base forever, the agent never has to rederive it the second time.
And the feedback loop on these artifacts is fluid.
Super fluid. It's modeled on Google Docs and GitHub comments. You can highlight any piece of an artifact, text, code, and image, and leave batched comments. Don't use Tailwind here. Use vanilla CSS instead.
And you can do this while the agent is still working.
At any point, even mid-browser actuation, as they put it. You don't have to stop the whole process. The agent just picks up your feedback asynchronously, incorporates it, and lets you know when it's done. It's a continuous, non-interruptive flow.
So we have these amazing models, this ambitious product, and this incredible interaction pattern with artifacts. What's the secret that keeps it all improving so fast? That brings us to the research product flywheel.
This is the real secret sauce. And it's so simple, really. They're just following the oldest rule in the book: be your biggest user. Anti-gravity is being built for Google engineers and DeepMind researchers first.
So it has to be good enough for some of the most demanding developers on the planet.
By definition. And that internal real-world usage gives them feedback that no synthetic benchmark, no evil ever could.
Right.
The engineers find the real pain points at a very, very real level. They'll spot things like subtle performance lags or weird bugs in the agent harness that only show up in a complex production environment. And that pressure forces the product and research teams to constantly improve both the tool and the model.
Can you give an example of that collaboration?
Yeah, they talked about the browser control. It was a constant back and forth between the product team and the computer use research team. The product folks would say, your agent harness is buggy, fix your tools.
And the research team would say,
no, the model's capability is just off when it tries to read that specific GitHub dashboard, fix the research. And that tension forces both sides to get better.
And you said artifacts were a weird concept for the model at first.
They were. This whole idea of a structured review and feedback loop wasn't something the model just intuitively understood. It took specific work with the research team to teach Gemini 3 how to generate, understand, and process the complex information inside an artifact. The product design literally drove improvements in the core model. That's the flywheel.
So tying it all together, we've seen how anti-gravity pushes the ceiling of ambition, builds this truly agent-first experience, and leverages that incredible flywheel. What does this mean for the developer who actually uses it?
It means the job is changing. If the agent is handling the how to build it, the context, the verification, the tedious tasks, then the human developer is naturally going to spend more time in that high-level agent manager view.
Which brings us back to that tension from the beginning. And it leaves a really important question for you, the listener, to think about. If this platform really does pull you one level higher, if you're spending your time focused purely on the what to build, what's the new creative problem that only a human can solve? When all the complexity of implementation is handled, think about how your role shifts. You're not just a coder anymore. You're the chief architect of ideas. That's the real bet anti-gravity is making.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into what might just be the future of building software.